G'day. Today we're going to go through the Ethereum Pectra upgrade. So it's one of the biggest news items going around for the crypto market at the moment. And what it is, it's going to be an improvement of 11. So there's 11 EIPs, so Ethereum Improvement Proposals being done. It's basically a combination of two upgrades, being Prague and Electra. And it took place at 6 a.m. on the 7th of May, Eastern time, that is, 2025. Now, the idea is it's going to make things scalable, smoother, better user experiences, better developer experiences, better validator experiences, things like that. So it covers quite a bit of ground. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is the smart wallets and account abstraction. So that's EIP 7702. What that means is, what that's going to do, your wallet, you'll be able to do smart contracts with your wallet. You'll be able to do things like recover lost keys. You'll be able to sponsor gas fees for others. You'll be able to do batch transactions. So there's quite a few changes that are going to take place and are going to happen through the smart wallets. That's really, really good from a user experience and a user capability point of view. So that's one of the good changes. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is the staking overhaul. So this one is related to the validators. So it's EIP 7251. What it's going to do is it's going to move. So currently, to be a validator, you have to have 32 Ethereum. So that number is going to move up to 2048 Ethereum. But what that means is validators, like the bigger validators and corporates and that, don't have to hold a lot of different wallets with 32 ETH in each. You know, they can consolidate all of those. So it's going to really help validators out from that perspective. And it should also streamline the validator process a little bit as well, which will obviously help the Ethereum network along the way. So that's another good one. EIP 7691. Now this one is really the layer 2 scalability. So when you think of your layer 2s, like your Optimism, your Arbitrum, it's going to help that. It's going to double the number of blobs per block. What that's going to do, it's going to help the layer 2s. It's going to lower the cost of transactions, which again is one of the sticking points. Even though layer 2s are cheaper than, using Ethereum itself, it's just going to make that much more efficient, much more scalable, which is going to be so beneficial to the network overall, where you need to use these layer 2s. Another big one of the 11 is EIP 7002. So this is more for the validators again. What it does, it triggers the exits and withdrawals on the execution layer. Now that reduces the reliance on hotkeys, and that'll make the whole staking process much faster, much safer, and much smoother. So again, that's probably one of the key 11 without going into all of the 11. There's some of the key ones I think are really important for people to understand what Pectra is going to do, and some of those key areas where it's going to improve Ethereum and the experience for users, for validators, for developers. So there's some of the key ones I think it's good to be aware of. At the end of the day, it's really about making Ethereum more efficient, making it less clunky, making the experience for everyone a lot better, a lot cheaper, a lot quicker. So there's some key things to come out of this Pectra upgrade. And we have another upgrade coming at the back end of 2025 as well, which will be interesting to see, and also to see where the market is at that point, because are we in a raging bull run by then where it can make massive differences? Who knows? But it's things like this and the Casper moving from 1 to 10 blocks per second the other day. Like, these are the things that are really going to help get this altcoin season started. It's things like the delivery on time of these things, the improvements they're making, the efficiencies they're making, the improvements in the speed, all of those sorts of things. It's going to take one of these that will just kick that altcoin season into play, which is what we're all looking forward to. Okay, so we're probably wondering what that's going to do for the Ethereum price. Well, nothing straight off the bat, really. It's sitting at around 1800 at the moment, but I think this is more a longer term play, right? I mean, you could ask yourself, is this a, buy the rumor, sell the news event? Which you see all the time. So I never factor in we're suddenly going to get a massive price increase on the release or an upgrade or on news or anything like that, because you don't see it happen really. Or you might see it short term and then it dumps off because everyone's selling into it. So from a short term perspective, I'm not sure we're going to see massive price movements, but I think longer term, obviously, yeah, it's really good news. I mean, those upgrades, Berlin and London back in 2021, sort of really helped kick off that bull run that we saw back then. So hopefully, like I mentioned earlier, hopefully we see the same. Analyst Michael Vander Pope believes that we could, if the sentiment aligns, we will see that move. So, we're all just waiting, playing a bit of a waiting game at the moment for these sorts of upgrades happening across different projects. The deliverables on it, the ease of use for consumers, the ability to bring more people in, those sorts of things are what we're going to see kick off this bull run, I think. And what we'll see, as I said, is this Pectra upgrade is we're going to see that scalability and cheaper fees and costs bring people in, bring developers in. We'll see more dApps being put onto Ethereum. We'll see gaming potentially. Cost has always been a barrier to gaming projects coming on. We'll see more institutional plays coming in because of, well, one from a validator perspective. Again, as I said, that growth in the size of the validation pools we'll see come in. We'll see more TradeFi coming into play because remember, Ethereum does have that first mover advantage. So it is a mammoth blockchain that has so many developers and users and dApps and NFTs and memes and all those sorts of things on it, where cost and speed and the smoothness of the experience have always been a bit of a drawback for Ethereum. Now, with Pectra, we should see some of those things go away and the whole experience be much better, which could bring more developers, could bring more dApps. You definitely got your DeFis, your NFTs and things like that. Ethereum is the main platform for that. So we could definitely see more of that and improvements in the ones that are currently there and their use cases and their speed and their scalability and their usability and their interfaces and all those sorts of things. We're going to see that, which in the long run is I think only bullish for Ethereum. And I know a lot of people have gone off Ethereum and they're moving more to the Solanas and the Swees. And I think Casper, once that gets its smart contracts around end of June, I think that's coming in. And even some of the Cardano stuff. So to keep developers, to keep users and projects on Ethereum, I believe this is definitely the sort of thing that's needed and where they should be moving. And once you can get some cross-chain, blockchain stuff in there as well, which I feel the industry is moving more towards, you'll definitely see more people coming into the market, once we can get that nailed down a lot better than it currently is. I mean, you even have startups and TradeFi giants adopting Ethereum for tokenization, even before IPOs and that, like Citibank did recently. So, there's definitely that movement from the corporate world into blockchain that we're seeing. And Ethereum is one of the safer ones, I guess, if you look at how long it's been around. The fact you've got ETFs for it now, although there is not a high demand. So maybe we'll see some improvement in the Ethereum ETF demand off the back of this as well. Okay, so I guess it then comes down to what are the key takeaways from the Pectra upgrade? What are the main areas that it's going to actually help and improve? I'd say the wallets piece is very important. The improvement in staking is definitely going to have an impact. You've got the layer 2 impacts, where that's improving the costs and that for the layer 2s with the double blobs per block. You've got the validator improvements. And then, I mean, as for price is a very hard one to pick, full stop. I mean, still down 40% on 12 months ago, Ethereum is, let alone obviously well down from its all-time high of the last run in 2021. But I think long term, it's bullish. These are changes that were needed. They were needed to streamline and help Ethereum. Whether that's going to be enough when you got monoliths like, Solana as a layer one without having to build the layer twos on top of it. You got things like Sui coming through. You got things like Casper coming through, which is decentralized. It's sort of, Ethereum loses a bit of that decentralization with all the layer twos because they're not decentralized necessarily. So that loses a bit of that where if you're looking for a decentralized play, for me, long term, it's Casper. Centralized, you've got your Solanas, you've got your Suis. So, it's not going to be a silver bullet that's going to fix all these problems, but it's definitely a step in the right direction for the Ethereum team and the network itself. Now, I think for investors in general, I mean, there is a bullish case. These sorts of changes have generally led to like 10 to 15% increases going off historical moves. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you to buy this token. I'm never telling anyone to buy a token that I talk about. I'm just trying to give some information for people to then go and do their own research, but just a bit of a starting point for them. Bearish perspective, I mean, you've got the fact they did have issues on 2 previous test nets for this. It is still down 40% on the last 12 months. So those things aren't positive. But again, from institutions and corporates and that, these changes could definitely bring more of those on board. So there is that side of it as well that I think could be very helpful for the project in the long run. But as I said, when they're also competing against Solana and Sui and things like that, which are layer ones, which are fast, which are cheap. But I mean, Ethereum's been around for 10 years. It's got 7% of the market. Bitcoin's got like 63% of it. It's got 7%, which is well ahead of any other altcoin. So they definitely have a strong base to build from. Okay, so look, we'll leave it there. That's just trying to give you guys a brief update on Pectra. What are some of the key areas that's going to impact for Ethereum, for investors, for validators, for developers. Now, if you did get some value out of this video, please hit the like button, smash that subscribe button, and click the bell notification so you're notified whenever I release a video. And I'll see you in the next one.